Please welcome Radian 6 CEO Marcel Lebrun.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Social 2011. I wasn't expecting that big voice introducing me. I'm so excited to have everyone here today and so excited to welcome everyone to our first ever user conference. So thank you very much for coming. Just to start, of course, this is a social event, so the hashtag for our event today is hashtag Social 2011. And I just said hello to Ray. Can you guys hear me okay? There's a little bit of feedback. All right? Okay. So I just saw Ray Wang here in the corner, so I'm sure there's tweets happening already. For those of you who know him, he's a very prolific tweeter. So welcome, very excited today. To start, you know, ever since day one, with Radian 6, when we talk about community, for us it isn't a buzzword or kind of a cute thing that's, you know, in style or trendy. It is fundamentally the essence of what we believe in and how we've built our business. And so for us, being able to be welcomed in the community of, you know, marketers and thought leaders that are talking about social media has been tremendous. And I want to start with, from the bottom of my heart, a huge thank you to this community for being a huge part of our success and our development as a company. So thank you very much. And in particular, I am still blown away as to how many people take the time and are so generous to advocate for us and to tell people about our ideas and tell people to check us out and things like that. And it's just been a huge part of our story and a huge part of what's caused us to grow and caused, you know, people to hear about us and to check out Radian 6. And I just want to thank you for that generosity. And we've just had, I'm still surprised at how remarkable our customers are in taking the time to do that. So thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for your ideas. And the one thing I'm very proud of is that we built a company that we really do work hard to walk the talk around listening and engaging with our customers. And so we listen, we collect all the ideas, and your ideas have been tremendously precious to us. It's the very thing we use that drives our product roadmap, drives how we, you know, build our customer support, our community engagement. And I think that, you know, hearing from our customers and thought leaders in the industry and our community has been huge for us. So I want to thank you as well for your ideas. So thank you. As a community and as a group, we share a huge vision about social media and how transformative it is for business. And when you think about the significance of social, I would argue that it's the biggest transformative force in business in a century, since the introduction of the mass media. And even if you go back further than that, and you think about the printing press, and you think about how the printing press really democratized and created the print medium. And before that, you know, knowledge was accessible only to a few people. And with the printing press, all of a sudden now knowledge is accessible to many more people, and it fundamentally changed the world. It changed society. Huge changes took place because all of a sudden people had access to information. And then when you think about various media, well, with social, I think the changes that social are bringing to our world are even more significant. And when you think about back in 1964, Marshall McLuhan wrote a paper called Understanding Media. And in it, he talked about print, TV, and radio. And what's interesting is, you've heard his term, you know, the medium is the message. And in that, he's talking about that media has a social effect. So media is not just a neutral thing. I like, actually, one of his quotes is, a light bulb, by its very presence, creates a medium. And, you know, if we didn't have lights in this room, it would change how we communicate. And so media changes things. And so print media changed the world. I think social has the power to change the world. McLuhan talked about, you know, TV back in his paper, and he said, you know, TV was going to shrink the globe. Regardless of the images that we send on TV, the medium itself was going to change the world. You know, he coined the term global village as a consequence of what this media would do. And you know, the medium is the message is essentially that. The medium itself is the thing that causes social change. And so for us, social media, I think, has a huge transformative effect on the world. I've been saying for 3 years that your brand is the sum of conversations about it. You can see on this slide, you just look at what's happened recently, and in Egypt and other places, social web is now almost really even being equated with, human freedom and having a voice. And it's changed the power from the megaphone, belonging to institutions with, control and wealth, to communities. And that's a huge world-changing phenomenon. It's not just, making companies more accountable for their customer service. It is that. It's not just changing, how your brand is perceived. It is that. But, here you have a sign held up where, Twitter and Facebook and these things represent, my human right to be heard and to speak and to have my opinion. So for us, this is a huge vision. Now, I don't need to convince you guys, because I know everyone here, believes that. But there's still a lot of companies who kind of take an old way. There's a lot of money and a lot of processes in place that really have been built around the era of the mass media. If you look at how our companies have scaled, how they communicate, a lot of companies are still focused on, interruption-based messaging. How do we, interrupt our customers? Focused on one-way messaging. Let's talk and no listening. And there's a lot of that still going on. Or, how do we force our customers through our processes that help us reduce our costs and control, how we do things. But we know there's a new way and a better way. And that new way is, changing from interruption-based marketing to invitation-based marketing. It's changing our fundamental approach to customers from, talking to them to conversing with them and listening to them. And one of the things that, a lot of people talk about listening, it's just one word, and, it can mean different things. But when I think about listening in the context of, let's say, a relationship, you don't just listen to gather information. You listen to communicate someone's value to you. You listen to let them know they're important to you. You listen so, yes, you want to hear what they have to say, but you want to make sure that they know that they're worth your time. And so for companies, this is the new way. This is the better way, is how do we, found our businesses and our processes on listening, on engagement, on invitation, not on interruption. And all this, in my mind, the power of this and the benefit of social is that it gives us the platform to help make customers the very center and the very heart of our business. And when we started at Radian 6, the thing that we knew, I remember an old story from, June 2006. Someone asked me the other day, what was the very first thing, Marcel, that you saw that made you go, wow, this is changing everything? And in June 2006, I remember seeing, you guys may remember this, a post about a guy called Vincent Ferrari. And he has a blog called insignificantthoughts.com, not an influential blogger at the time. And he just had heard that it was difficult to cancel your dial-up AOL account. And he called to cancel his dial-up AOL account and recorded that call. And of course put it on his blog. The call went really badly. Then it ended up on The Consumerist, and then it ended up on Dig. And then next thing you know, he's on the national news with Matt Lauer talking about his experience. And the next thing you know, it's on YouTube, and there's 4 million views, and the thing just took off. And here's one person who had an experience that resonated with a whole bunch of other people who had that experience, and up it went. And this just totally, changed perceptions around, and became a crisis. And I looked at that and said, wow, that is changing marketing forever. However, at the time, our view was this is about, how your brand and how marketing is changing and how PR is changing. But what's been exciting for us over the last 3 or 4 years is that we've seen social touch every part of the enterprise. So now we're seeing that it's an important part of customer service. It's not just, the PR, the marketing folks that are looking at potential crises like Vincent Ferrari and the AOL crisis. It's the regular customer who's asking for help. We also know that it's changing sales. Instead of interrupting people and saying, hey, would you like to buy what I have to sell? How about listening for point of need? It's like when I when I walk into the shoe store and someone interrupts me and says, "Can I help you?" and I, "No, thanks." And someone else interrupts me and says, "Can I help you?" and I say, "No, thanks." But then when I find something and I look around and I want someone to help, you know, and there's no one there. So I'm expressing a point of need when I'm doing that. How can we as brands in sales get better at listening to customers express their needs and responding in a way that's helpful and not interruption? So it's changing sales. It's also changing product management, and it's changing executive leadership. It's changing how we hear our customers and how we take that voice in real time as it's happening and pour that into our business. One of the things that is a great story that I saw, I think, about 4 months ago on Mashable is Procter & Gamble. And, you know, I talk about the biggest transformative force since the era of mass marketing. Here's a great example of it. So Procter & Gamble announced in December that they were, for the first time in 77 years, dropping their funding for soap operas, which is a category they actually helped create. So they created soap operas, that's why they're called soap operas, and they were very useful for selling soap. And what they recognized is a couple of things. One is the audience has moved. You know, they're not necessarily sitting there watching daytime soap operas anymore. They're living in the social web. And so they said, we're shifting from this investment to doing more things with social media. And so when you think about the biggest transformative force in a century, here's a 77-year run of doing the same thing, that all of a sudden the decision's made, we're going to change that because it's not working as well as this other stuff. And what they referred to specifically was doing more things like the Old Spice campaign. And now you might have seen the Old Spice story on TV, you know, the Old Spice guy who your man can smell like but not look like. That was a huge, successful online discussion with customers. And the cool thing is you're going to be able to hear about that a little more because Isaiah Mustafa, who's the Old Spice guy, is here, and he'll be on stage tomorrow talking about that campaign and talking about what the online piece of that was. And so that's really exciting, and this is just kind of a data point that really kind of, for me, reinforces that this is one of the biggest changes in the century. And there's still, you know, $180+ billion spent on traditional, you know, push messages. Another one is, if we go to the next slide, how many of you remember seeing a Super Bowl ad? Ah, okay, a few folks from Chicago here. See Adam Keats, they're clapping away.